That car you saw from time to time belongs to Wendy O. Williams, lead singer of the controversial band the Plasmatics. This car becomes history on Tomorrow, Coast to Coast, right here, right now. Easy now. Thank you all for being with us across the country tonight. Now, tonight, go Tom, right. Tonight is the night that we've all been waiting for. Yeah, right. The last, say it again. The last time that we had Wendy and the Plasmatics here, they did something which I don't think has ever been done on network television before. They blew up a television set, all right, and they sawed in half an electric guitar. Now, at the time, we were videotaping the show here on the third floor while John Chancellor and company this is why I don't do the news anymore, we're reporting the news down the hall in another studio. And I think in the middle of the stock report that night, we blew up the television set and everybody kind of went like that. So we're doing a little bit later here in New York tonight so as not to disturb the news crew down the hall. Tonight, Wendy is back to play two hits that I know are favorites in your house as they are in mine. And she will join us, Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics. We have Mr. Rick Horrow with us tonight. He is an attorney from Miami, Florida, who has been appalled by the accelerating violence in major league team sports. Basketball players who run up into the stands and beat up fans because the fans have been verbally abusing them. Hockey players who slam their sticks down and then encounter each other in great fights on the ice. He wants some kind of national regulation to stop what he feels is excessive violence in major league team sports, and we'll talk to him. We have the Reverend Rex Humber here tonight, who will give the benediction when everything is all said and done. He is a television star, and he is a preacher. He is a pioneer in broadcast evangelism, and although some people find television preachers questionable in many cases, Rex Humber says that Pray TV is the best and fastest way to spread the word of the Lord. As a matter of fact, he is quoted as saying that if Jesus Christ were alive today, he would be on television. We will continue with the Plasmatics and all that other stuff right after these announcements. Thank you all for being here. We'll be right back. All of us who watch Major League team sports from time to time on television or at the field houses or stadia know that there are fights on the fields and on the basketball courts, skating rinks that often get out of hand. There is no question that violence on sports is on the upswing, and although people don't know why in many cases, there are efforts now to try and control it. Joining me tonight is Mr. Rick Horrow, who is an attorney from Miami, Florida, who thinks it may be too dangerous on the fields, the skating rinks, and the basketball courts, and he wants some kind of federal law to stop the violence. He is testifying before a congressional committee which is now contemplating a sports violence bill or a sports violence control bill, if that is in fact the proper terminology. Would you please welcome from Miami, Mr. Rick Horrow. Rick? What got you into this? What's your motivation here to try and control this violence on the sports field?
All I needed to see was a couple of hockey games to know that this really wasn't the way the sport was intended to be played. I drafted the first draft of a book at Harvard Law School, which is turning into a book, Sports Violence. I wrote some legislation when I was working with a federal judge in Washington. The legislation snowballed, and it got introduced last July 31st as the Sports Violence Act by Ronald Model, a Democratic congressman from Parma, Ohio. John Conyers, who chairs a subcommittee on criminal justice, decided to carry the ball, if you will, to explore the general issue of violence in sports as it affects society, not necessarily the specific merits of the bill. We've had 3 sets of hearings. The last sets of hearings were yesterday in Washington. We've had a lot of influential people testify to the detrimental effects of violence in sports, and the intent really is to spread the word.
You know, I was talking with Joe Califano here last night. We got into a little discussion, maybe an argument in the minds of some people, as to why the government gets involved in so many areas of our lives. What the hell do we need the government now involved in patrolling violence in sports? Why can't the leagues do this if, in fact, they have not?
That's a good point, and we really don't need the government in, Tom, if we could be rest assured that the leagues would take care of the problem, would clean up their own houses. Unfortunately, they have no inclination to do it to the level that would say, look, we as the federal government ought to stand back and let them do it completely. There are people who say that the hockey establishment, for example, is too wrapped up in the notion that violence sells tickets to do anything about the problem. But even if they did, there are those certain severe severe incidents that we may see on the film later that you really can't have the leagues take care of. You really need some symbolic federal intervention that says, if you don't clean up your own houses, then we'll do it for you.
All right, let's draw the line somewhere. You and I would agree that there are arguments in team sports. There are moments of friction. There are times when there are going to be altercations over an umpire's call or a referee's judgment, or teammates emptying benches to protect their own their own teams. Where do you draw the line here as to what is part of the tumult of sports and excessive violence?
That's the key. The key is to find the line separating normal, aggressive, part of the game behavior and behavior that doesn't belong in any organized sport. Behavior where an athlete steps out of his role of sportsman and into a role of criminal. And the bill that we've drafted defines excessive physical force as force that's not reasonably related to the competitive goals of the sport. So you as a sportsman and a sports fan know intuitively what is related to sport and what is not.
But would you ever get players, if that were to come to a lawsuit, to go and testify against each other? I don't.
That's one of the problems. It's like the medical conspiracy. You really don't want to rely on one player to testify against someone that he's going to play against next year. That's the problem. You need someone else to control it for them.
What kind of legislation are we looking for here? What kind of law can you pass that's going to control this sort of thing?
We're trying to draw a clear line that hopefully will never be enforced. It's a deterrent that will suggest, look, you people can control your own level of violence. We will create a symbolic federal statute that says if you step over this line that's indicated by these 3 illustrations here, you're going to risk the threat of criminal prosecution.
But in the case of the basketball players, wasn't the offender fined $10,000 and suspended for 60 days without pay by Commissioner Larry O'Brien?
He was fined and suspended that exact amount. And
well, wouldn't that be a deterrent?
Case, it would be somewhat of a deterrent, but you still need more of a deterrent. The deterrent, the threat of going to jail if you do these types of things again. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do this all the time. What I am suggesting is in those handful of cases, you do say you can't take the law into your own hands. To say defer to the league is no more appropriate than to say defer to General Motors when one foreman shoots another foreman on the assembly line, for example. You just say in certain instances the criminal law is needed to take that symbolic step.
But doesn't criminal law apply now in certain cases? And for example, I can't remember the name of the football player who was paralyzed for life. And
Stingley, Darryl Stingley.
All right, Darryl Stingley.
Well, see, local and state assault and battery laws could do the trick if they were written with other than street crime in mind. Jurors who have had these cases before say, we find this this terrible. But we can't convict someone with a statute that's written with rapes and muggings and that type of idea. The key is to get the word out. What I'm doing is hoping to have more and more hearings. I'm doing a speaking tour with EWI, dealing with this on college campuses. I'm doing other things to try to get the word out.
Probably speaking at no charge on those campuses.
I'm doing a lot of different things with these. These issues. A lot of different things. That's right.
Not for a second do I doubt your good intentions here, but do we need to get the government involved in one more area of our lives?
I'll tell you what. If I thought for a moment...
And how can you, what are we going to have, a guy in the stadium watching every single game who's a representative of Uncle Sam to make sure that nothing goes on there?
No, see, here's the problem now. When you say, do we need the big government in? The big government is in now. The state and localities, as I said before, has these assault and battery laws that they could go ahead and enforce. But these are vague. So what happens? Well, you have someone going to the home rink, doing a number on a home team star, right before re-election time. What happens? Well, you have a vague statute, the politician wants to make a name for himself, and he might indict in a situation where you really shouldn't take the guy to court. It's on the good side of that line that I talked about before. If you have a clear federal statute, then what you have is a clear, defined line that the federal prosecutor will say, well, here's the criteria. It fits or it doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, then it's part of the game. We let the league take care of it. If it does fit, then we go ahead and indict, and then the jury can convict. If it's reasonably related to the game, the athlete will have no worries under this bill.
Have you talked to players about this? If you have, how do they feel?
Well, they feel like you do, or like it sounds like you do, initially negative. But more and more when we make the argument that if a player plays by the rules, he needn't worry about being hauled into court under a clear statute, then they say, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. But it's a long uphill battle.
Chances of passage?
Not very good. Chances of getting an effect, a significant effect through this publicity, very good, I think.
All right. Mr. Horrow, thank you for being with us tonight, and all best to you on the old college lecture tour.
Thank you for having me on.
Rick Horrow, attorney from Miami, Florida. Wendy and the Plasmatics. After this, for our sponsors and the NBC television station. Thank you, Rick. Well, it's time now for another moment in the history of quality television here on the old... When we do this, the crew here in the studio gets these things to wear. The rest of us fend for ourselves. The last time Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics were here, they sawed in half a guitar and they smashed a working television set. For reasons not entirely known, I might add. Tonight, Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics are back. She recently beat an obscenity rap in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Whoopee. And she is here now with the Plasmatics to perform a new song called Head Ranger. Wendy and the Plasmatics, here they are!
All you head babies out there, you know who you are. You got your friends and Charlie, banger. You got Bruce and Charlie, banger. You got his best gear, banger. You know the old, you know, oh how get your tears going. You know, oh how get your tears going. You know, oh how get your tears going. You know, hey, banger. You got your friends and Charlie, banger. You got Bruce and Charlie, banger. You got his best gear, banger. You know the old, you know, oh how. Get your tears coming, you know, oh how get your tears coming, you know, oh how get your tears coming, you know. In banger, you got your face and talking, banger, you got a blue society, banger, you got his best feeling, banger, you live the only thing, you know, oh how get your tears coming, you know, oh how get your tears coming, you know, oh how get your tears coming, you know.
Now, we're going to do this one time. Would you welcome back now, please, from the Plasmatics, Wendy O. Williams. Wendy loves you all back, all right? Now, the last time you were here the night after, I said to the audience, and maybe you heard about this, that I thought, you know, after you blew up the television set and sawed the guitar in half, I thought of all the people who maybe don't have the money to buy a television set. I thought of all the people who maybe wanted to buy a guitar, kids who want to learn how to play. Do you ever think about that when you do that sort of thing? And I understand it's not a put-down, but I just wonder what goes through your mind when you're doing that sort of thing.
Well, I like to do it, but there's also, you know, like in our society, like things are way out of whack.
Yeah?
Like it seems that it's normal for rape and murder to go on, but it's not normal to smash a TV set. And I think things are out of proportion. And like, I'm like exercising the evil in society when I'm smashing these things, because I'm showing that these are just things.
And I'm sure I give away my age group when I talk like that, but, you know, there are a lot of people who are, forgive me, beyond the age of 40 like I am, who look at Wendy and see an attractive, bright person who's got some talent. I mean, you got some music in you, and we wonder, maybe if she'd quiet it down just a little bit, and we'd understand a little bit better. But maybe your audience would widen a little bit.
Well, you know, like, I mean, I think music is infinite. You know, like, I feel that we are communicating, sometimes even without words. You know, like, it does work. You don't mind I park my car over here, do you?
No, not at all.
I mean, what we do, like, we do make money at what we do, too. And, like, another thing, like, I think, you know, materialism is rampant, you know, like, with violence and everything in our society. And the only way you can really not let money rule your life, not let materialism rule your life, is be able to flush it down the toilet.
Yeah.
Which
but
is...
then, yeah, but then you have to go out tomorrow to get some more so that you can flush it down the toilet that night, if you know what I mean.
We love to do it. We love to do it. And it's also like we are out. We're bound and determined to undermine the status quo. And this is the ultimate to the society.
Oh. Now, did it make you happy to say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Made me feel
You
really
see,
good.
society has been worked over for a long time, and it will continue to be worked over because there are going to be people coming after you who might want to work you over. There have been, that's right, sir. What I'm getting at here is that as you become more successful, and as you sell a lot of records, and as your concerts sell out, how do you make certain that you don't become a member of what you now call the establishment or society?
Well,
You know, I mean, there have been a lot of acts that have, you know, kind of thumbed their nose at the establishment, but as they began to become successful and got the money and got the cars and the houses and the TVs, they kind of settled very comfortably into society.
we hope to create a change. Like this year we're starting a new school for boys and girls. It's the alternative school. It's the alternative school for boys and girls, and we're starting that, and we hope to change things here.
Now, at my peril, I will ask what OLGC stands for.
It means down on your knees and pledge your allegiance.
Oh, two.
Plasmatics.
Can I
No, it's to yourself, you know, to yourself, really. You know, like we really, you know, like there's pluralism and there's fascism. And everybody has the same cosmic, same energy. Everybody has that. And everybody should have the right to express this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is pluralism.
Okay.
You know, like the rest of this junk is fascism, when somebody wants to beat you over the head
Yeah.
to make you do what they want you to do. And this is what we're against. We're out to stomp that out.
Okay, okay. I'm going to assume, I don't know where you grew up. Was it in the eastern part of the United States, south, or wherever? It doesn't make any
Any town,
difference.
right.
Okay, any town, USA, really. But at one time, there was a little teeny tiny Wendy who was 3 years old, right? And she was a little tiny girl, and she had a mommy, and she had a daddy, and they said, you'll do this, and you won't do that. And she went to grade school, and she went to high school, and she might have gone to college, I don't know. And somewhere along the line, she got thoughts in her head that we have to, you know, give society the old ultimate 1-2, and that there's fast. When did all this happen for, when did little teeny tiny Wendy become Wendy O. Williams? When did you...
I've always been like this. I've been like this all my life. I mean, you know, this is just, I can't help but do what I feel, and I can't help but encourage other people to do what they feel. I mean, like, I really get a release and a relief when I do these things, and when it works, like for our fans, they get a relief and a release too. And I mean, this should be, everybody should have this opportunity, because when everybody holds things in, the more you suppress things and the more you repress things, all you do is create more violence. And out of this boredom, you know, like, comes the violence, and comes like the assassins and the real sickies in our society.
Well, okay, I'm having a little trouble following. When you blow up a television set, that doesn't cause violence, but the other people who beat up people do. I mean, they do too, but do you ever think maybe you're causing some violence?
Well, I'm basically a pacifist, you know, like, I mean, like, I'm not, you know, like, I would hit somebody if they hit me.
Sure, me too.
But
Yeah,
I'm
me
not,
too.
I'm, you know, like, I'm out to do things peacefully. Like, I mean, like, these things have no life. These are, you know, like, I feel like I'm showing this is materialism,
Mm-hmm.
this is, these things are not God. If something has life, there must be some better way.
But have you
to
ever
work
thought
it out.
about maybe just bringing out a television set and giving a little kiss? You know what I mean? Instead of...
Come on, Tom, let me have some fun.
Since you were here the last time, what did people say after you were on our show the last time? Did you get a good reaction to that?
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I did.
We'll see what happens a little bit later on. What's the name of the song you're going to do for us later on with the car?
We're going to do Master Plan, and that's off our brand new album,
Okay.
Beyond the Valley of 1984.
All right, Beyond the Valley of 1984. Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics will return. Thanks for coming back tonight, Fred. We'll see you soon. Now sit down. All right. We will continue right after these announcements. Next up from New York, a gentleman who is seen by millions of people, not only in this country, but all around the world. He appears on more than 600 television stations. He is a man who has been called television's heavenly host and one of the pioneers of television evangelism. Would you please welcome from the Rex Humbard Show, Mr. Rex Humbard himself. Reverend Humber, welcome, sir. You know, it's a night of contrast here. May I call you Rex?
Sure.
Sure,
You,
okay.
everybody does.
All right. Wendy and the Plasmatics and the Reverend Humber. What did you make of what you saw there?
Well, the thing of it is, probably Wendy has never heard of me. And at the same time, that's the first time I ever saw Wendy or the Plasmatics. That's what you call
That's
it?
what they call themselves, yep.
I'd never seen them before.
Okay. Do you think that they might be appearing on the Tower of Power or at the Church of...
Cathedral of Tomorrow, you mean?
Cathedral of Tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. I don't think
Hey,
that,
you're an honest man, sir.
I don't think they would want to, but however, may I say this? I'd be very glad to meet these kind of people, all kinds of people, because I've never met one person in my life that I didn't love. And I found out many years ago when I dedicated my life to Christ that in order to love people, we had to overlook this outside surface. And I believe that a person has a spirit or a soul, and that's the eternal part, and we love souls. We don't love the outward appearance or what's going on outside.
Well
We
said,
love
sir.
the individual.
Well said.
And let me just add one thing. Christ, when he died on the cross, had nails in his hands, but he prayed for the people who drove the nails in his hands. And only one way he could do that. They have an eternal soul, and he loved their soul. And I try to act like that.
We live in an age where religion is more and more a part of our lives on television and in the press. I speak about the articles involving the moral majority, Reverend Falwell. We've been through a period now where on the one hand people were saying God didn't hear the prayers of Jews. We've heard some religious leaders, television evangelists, not yourself, say gays, homosexuals are not real people in the eyes of the Lord. Doesn't that kind of talk really hurt the thing that you and others are trying to do?
What really hurts me is not so much the outward, but we stand for a certain thing, that to love our fellow man, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, thou shalt not lie, shalt not steal, which seems trite today. But these are basic principles. Now we have a lot of people who say, I believe in God. But at the same time, they're not practicing these principles of love. They're showing hate to their fellow man because they don't understand them or don't go to the same church or something. And it's kind of like a doctor coming in and prescribing a prescription for me to get well if I was sick. And I'd sit it up on the table and everybody'd come in. I'd say, Tom, look here at this medicine, it's supposed to make me well, and never take any of it. Now, we've talked about God in America, but what concerns me more than anything else, if we're going to really have faith to live by, let's kind of practice that faith. And I'm not talking about perfection, but I'm talking about trying to get along with a man and his wife, his children, his next-door neighbor, and then pray for those that you don't understand, not hit them over the head, so to speak.
In other words, it would be nice if some members of the Christian Army would stop shooting the wounded, huh?
I think you're exactly right, and I think we ought to spend more time. Now, I have never entered into the area of politics, and I don't intend to, because my leader was Jesus Christ, and when he came, the Roman Empire ruled with an iron hand, and never one time did Christ ever preach a sermon against the Roman Empire, because he was trying to help individuals. And I'm not one for leading a big parade down the street, let's say for people that are hungry, and at the end of the parade no one got fed. I'd rather give one individual a loaf of bread or help one individual than to be the head of some big parade.
People often criticize television evangelists who live very well, and most of you do that. You have nice cars, you live in comfortable homes. I think you have an airplane at your disposal. I don't criticize that, but I say, do you ever feel guilty about some of the material things that come with your job, or does Billy Graham do?
First of all, I receive a salary, and I can't talk about other people, but I can talk about Rick's. So I have taken my salary, which is set by an outside organization, has nothing to do with our organization. It sets the salary of 1,000 people that work for us all over the world in all of our offices. Our Board of Trustees does not do that, and I do not do it. And they are hired outside, just like our auditors, to set those salaries. Now, what I do with my salary they give me should be my business.
Yes, sir.
Not the contribution that's given for the television. Now, I've taken that, Tom, and I've gone down to Florida, and I bought a condominium over on the ocean. I kept it for a year and a half and made 250% profit because the bank had most of the money. I had a little. So I bought another one, and I made a profit on it. Then I bought me a home. Now, some people would say I'm dipping into the till where I'm just trying to use a little business sense. We have a body and a mind and a soul, and I want to keep them all straight. And if I can do that and live a little better, thank God that I've got enough brains to do it.
Okay. Rex, thanks for being with us tonight. You're a good man, the Reverend Rex Humber. Now with Master Plan, Wendy Williams and the Plasmatics. Here they are.
One, two, next thing, so shoot!
Master Plan! Master Plan! Master Plan!
Iacocca, eat your heart out. Now, we, we have a videotape by Ron Harris coming up called Erotic Aerobics, but this is for all the people who pitch used cars on late-night television during movies. Hi, folks. Nick Shamus here from Giant Felix Chevrolet, just off the Harbor Freeway, Jefferson and Figueroa. Home of 14,975 cars and trucks, all inside our giant rainproof showroom. You know, folks turn down elsewhere, turn up with a car at Giant Felix Chevrolet. So come on into Giant Felix Chevrolet, just off the Harbor Freeway. Jefferson and Figueroa say, habla español, and thank you. Good night, everybody.